Drop a comment with where you're watching from and become part of our story. My name is Leo Callahan. I'm 47 years old, and for 16 years I led the sales team at Matos Industries. I built relationships with every major client from the ground up. I worked weekends, missed family dinners, and made Matos Industries a benchmark in the New Jersey industrial sector. Nathan Garrett, my boss, spoke those words as he leaned back in his leather chair. The smirk on his face told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about performance. It wasn't about results. It was about numbers on a spreadsheet. 3 interns can do your job, he added, adjusting his tie as if he'd just solved world hunger. I just sat there, looking at the man who had been riding my coattails for the last 3 years. Nathan had joined Matos as COO when the previous director retired. He arrived with his MBA and wild theories about efficiency. He started questioning everything the moment he felt comfortable. The irony wasn't lost on me. While he talked about cutting costs, I was the one bringing in 60% of our revenue. My client relationships were the backbone of this company. But Nathan saw dollar signs where I saw handshakes and trust built over decades. I understand, I said quietly. Good, security will escort you out. Your access cards have already been deactivated. I nodded and stood up. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I just walked to my office and placed my belongings in a cardboard box. The photo of my wife and kids, my mug from the construction equipment trade show in Vegas, the paperweight my daughter made in the 3rd grade. My team watched from their cubicles as security walked me to the elevator. Jessica, my assistant, had tears in her eyes. She had worked with me for 8 years. She knew every client's birthday, their kids' names, their favorite restaurants. We built something real here. As the elevator descended, I thought about the conversation I'd overheard last week. Nathan on the phone with someone talking about trimming the fat and maximizing profit margins. He mentioned my salary, specifically saying the company could hire 3 recent grads for what they paid me. What Nathan didn't understand was that those 3 grads would inherit client lists, not client relationships. There's a difference between a name in a database and a man who calls you personally when his company needs help. The elevator hit the ground floor. I walked through the lobby I had entered every morning for 16 years, carrying my box of memories. Nathan thought he'd made a brilliant business decision. He had no idea what he had just set in motion. I started at Matos Industries right out of college. Back then, it was a small operation run by Tom Matos himself. 20 employees, 2 salespeople, and a dream of competing with the big manufacturers. Tom believed in relationships. Sell to the person, not the company, he always said. When Tom retired 5 years ago, his son-in-law took over as CEO. That's when Nathan joined the team. New management meant new ideas about efficiency and cost-cutting. The company grew to 300 employees, but somehow the soul of the place began to fade. My client base wasn't built overnight. Harold Bishop of Pinnacle Construction trusted me because I drove to his work site at midnight when his equipment broke down during a crucial project. Patricia Vance of Vance Enterprises kept Matos on her preferred vendor list because I remembered her daughter's graduation and sent flowers. These weren't transactions. They were relationships. Over the years, I noticed subtle shifts in how Nathan interacted with the sales team. He started questioning my travel expenses. He asked why I needed to take clients to dinner when email communication should suffice. He suggested we could manage accounts remotely instead of with in-person meetings. The personal touch is outdated, he said during one team meeting. Modern business is about efficiency and digital communication. I tried to explain that construction executives were old-school people who preferred handshakes to email signatures. That when Patricia Vance had a $10 million project, she called me personally because she trusted my judgment. But Nathan saw those dinner receipts as unnecessary expenses. The warning signs had been there for months. Nathan started holding meetings without me. He brought in a consultant to analyze sales processes. He had Jessica provide detailed reports on my daily activities. He was building a case. What really bothered me was how he treated the rest of the team. Kevin, who had been with Matos for 12 years, was passed over for a promotion because Nathan thought his salary was above the market average. Maria, our best account manager, lost her biggest client when Nathan insisted she handle their concerns through the customer service portal instead of personal calls. The company culture was changing. Tom Matos used to walk the factory floor, knew everyone's name, asked about their families. Nathan managed from his corner office through spreadsheets and metrics. He measured everything except the things that truly mattered. My wife had noticed the stress. "Oh, you come home different," she said last month, "like you're fighting a battle you can't win." She was right. I was fighting to preserve something Nathan didn't value. Customer loyalty can't be measured in quarterly reports, but it's the foundation everything else is built on. Nathan was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The call came at 8 that night. Patricia Vance from Vance Enterprises. "Leo, I just heard." "Is it true?" News travels fast in the New Jersey construction industry. Matos Industries had been my professional identity for 16 years, but apparently I was Leo Callahan first, a Matos employee second. "It's true, Patricia. As of this afternoon, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You built half of their business relationships. What is Nathan thinking?" I was sitting in my truck outside a coffee shop, still processing the day's events. "He thinks 3 interns can handle the sales department." Patricia laughed, but there was no humor in it. "3 interns? Leo, you know my business better than I do sometimes. When we had that permit issue last year, you knew exactly which official at City Hall to call. You think some kid out of college is going to have those contacts." After Patricia hung up, my phone kept ringing. Harold Bishop, Frank Torres from Alpine Metalworks, David Barron from Westward Engineering, all asking the same questions, all expressing the same concerns about the future of Matos. "I've worked with you for 12 years, Harold said. "Never had a single problem. Now they're telling me some intern is going to handle my account. No thank you." The pattern became clear over the next few hours. My clients weren't just upset about losing me as a contact. They were questioning if Matos Industries was still the company they had trusted for years. If management was willing to fire their top relationship manager without warning, what other changes were coming? By 10 o'clock, I had received calls from 14 major accounts. Not one of them expressed confidence in the company's decision. Several mentioned they would be reviewing their supplier relationships. I stayed in my home office that night, staring at my phone. These weren't just business contacts anymore. They were relationships I had cultivated through years of honest service and personal attention. They trusted me, not just Matos products. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer. Nathan had made a fundamental miscalculation. He thought he was firing an expensive employee. What he really did was sever the personal connections that held the Matos client base together. I pulled out my laptop and started making a list. Every key client, their current contracts with Matos, their renewal dates, their specific needs and preferences. The information wasn't proprietary, but it represented years of relationship building that couldn't be replicated by reading a file. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Nathan already posted your job online. Says he wants fresh perspectives and low-cost solutions. Thought you should know." I smiled for the first time since leaving the Matos office. Nathan was about to find out that fresh perspectives can't replace established trust. And low-cost solutions mean nothing if your clients decide to take their business elsewhere. The game was changing, and Nathan didn't even realize he was playing. I decided to remain professional. No bad-mouthing Matos Industries, no soliciting clients, just being available to anyone who wanted to reach out. The first test came on Thursday morning. Patricia Vance called with a problem. "Leo, we have an issue with the Matos shipment. The specs don't match what we ordered, and we need this fixed before our inspection tomorrow." I called the main number, and they transferred me to someone named Brandon. "The kid sounds like he's 18. Patricia, I don't work for Matos anymore. You'll have to—" "I know that. But Brandon told me to open a ticket on their online portal, and someone would get back to me in 48 hours. We don't have 48 hours. This could shut down our entire project." I was silent for a moment. This was exactly what I expected. The new system Nathan was so proud of treated every client issue like a support ticket. "Give me 5 minutes," I said. I called the Matos shipping department directly, spoke to Gerald, who had handled logistics for 10 years, explained the situation, and had the corrected shipment dispatched within the hour. Patricia called me back that afternoon. Problem solved. "Thank you. But Leo, this is ridiculous. I shouldn't have to call my former account manager to get basic service from my current supplier." By Friday, the pattern was clear. Clients were calling me because the new Matos system wasn't working. The interns Nathan hired were competent enough, but they didn't understand the relationship side of the business. They followed procedures instead of solving problems. Harold Bishop called on Monday morning. "Leo, I need to ask you something directly. Are you planning on going to another company?" "I'm exploring my options, Harold. Because if you are, I want you to know that Pinnacle Construction values relationships more than supplier loyalty. We'd be interested in following you to any company that appreciates your style of service." That conversation changed everything. Harold wasn't just expressing frustration with Matos. He was essentially offering to move his business to wherever I landed. I started to follow up. By Wednesday, I'd had similar conversations with 8 major accounts. It wasn't solicitation on my part. It was simply clients expressing their preferences for future business relationships. The real shocker came on Thursday afternoon. Jessica called me from her personal phone. "Leo, you need to know what's happening here. Nathan is freaking out." Pinnacle Construction sent a formal letter requesting to terminate their current contract. They said they're not confident in Matos's ability to provide adequate account management. Pinnacle has been with Matos for 12 years. That's what makes it so bad. Nathan called an emergency meeting, told us we need to step up our client retention efforts, but he still thinks the problem is our sales technique, not his management decisions. The dominoes were falling exactly as I had predicted. Nathan had calculated the cost of my salary, but he never calculated the value of customer loyalty. Those relationships couldn't be transferred like files on a computer system. Friday brought the news I was expecting. Alpine Metalworks submitted its contract termination notice. Westwood Engineering followed on Monday. 3 more accounts sent letters requesting meetings to discuss future business arrangements. Nathan's cost-cutting measure was turning into a revenue hemorrhage. The 3 interns he hired to replace me were processing orders just fine, but they couldn't stop the clients from leaving. They had no history with these companies, no trust, no personal connections. The irony was perfect. Nathan fired me to save on salary expenses. Now he was losing millions in revenue because he destroyed the relationships that generated that revenue in the first place. My phone rang on Tuesday night. Frank Torres from Alpine Metalworks. "Leo, I'll be direct. Corvus Manufacturing offered me a position as their Director of Business Development. They want someone who understands client relationships in the construction sector. I put your name forward for their VP of Client Relations. Interested?" I was very interested. The interview with Corvus Manufacturing revealed something I hadn't expected. They had been planning to compete directly with Matos Industries for months. "We've been analyzing the New Jersey market," said the CEO, Rebecca Ross. "Matos has strong client relationships, but their operational efficiency has been slipping. We felt there was an opportunity to provide better service to their existing customer base." I was sitting across from Rebecca in her downtown office, trying to process what she was telling me. Corvus wasn't just hiring me as a sales executive. They were building a strategy to challenge Matos's market dominance. "What changed your timeline?" I asked. Rebecca smiled. "Your availability. We had planned to spend 2 years building relationships from scratch. With your client knowledge and industry connections, we could accelerate that process significantly." The offer was substantial. Vice President of Client Relations, a 30% salary increase, stock options, and full authority to build a sales team based on relationship management instead of transactional processing. "There is one condition," Rebecca said. "We need to move fast. If Matos realizes what they've lost and tries to rehire you, this opportunity vanishes." I thought about the conversations I'd had with former clients, their frustration with the new Matos approach, their openness to alternative suppliers, their specific requests to work with me personally, regardless of company affiliation. "When would you like me to start?" "Next Monday. We've already prepared the office space and support staff. We just need your decision." That evening, I called Patricia Vance not to solicit business, but to get her honest assessment of the current situation at Matos. "Leo, I'll be straight with you. The service from Matos has fallen off a cliff. The new people don't understand our business. They're treating us like just another order number, instead of a 12-year client relationship. Have you considered other suppliers?" "We're always open to better service. Why do you ask?" I explained my situation with Corvus. Patricia was silent for a moment. So, you're asking if we'd be willing to give Corvus a shot based on our relationship with you personally? I'm asking if good service and personal attention still matter in your vendor selection process. Leo, they matter more than you know. This construction business is built on trust and reliability. When my project manager needs something, he doesn't want to fill out a form and wait for a callback. He wants to call someone who knows our business and can solve problems immediately. I had similar conversations with 6 other clients over the next 2 days. They all expressed the same sentiment. They valued relationships over supplier loyalty, service over price, and problem-solving over procedure following. The picture became clear. Nathan hadn't just fired an expensive employee. He had inadvertently created an opportunity for a competitor to acquire Matos's most valuable asset, its established client relationships. On Friday afternoon, I called Rebecca Ross and accepted the position. Excellent. One more thing, Leo. We've done some research on Matos's recent decisions. Your former boss has been making similar cost-cutting moves in other departments, lost several long-term employees in the last 6 months. Their institutional knowledge is walking out the door. What does that mean for Corvus? It means Matos Industries is more vulnerable than they realize. They're focused on cutting costs, while their competitors are focused on providing better service. That's not a sustainable strategy. I hung up with a clear understanding of what was happening. Nathan's management philosophy wasn't just affecting the sales department. It was weakening Matos's entire competitive position, and I was about to join a company that was specifically positioned to exploit those weaknesses. Monday morning couldn't come soon enough. My first day at Corvus Manufacturing started with a team meeting. Rebecca introduced me to the staff and outlined our strategic approach. Our goal is not to compete with Matos on price, she explained. Our goal is to provide the kind of personalized service their clients used to receive, but are no longer getting. The team was small but experienced. 3 account managers who had worked in construction industry sales, a project coordinator who understood the technical specs our clients needed, and an operations manager who prioritized problem-solving over following procedures. Leo will build relationships with potential clients based on service quality and personal attention. Rebecca continued, We are not asking anyone to abandon their current suppliers. We are just offering an alternative when their current suppliers stop meeting their needs. My first call was to Harold Bishop at Pinnacle Construction, not to solicit business, but to inform him of my new position, Corvus Manufacturing. I've heard good things about them. New company, but well-backed and good equipment. Harold, I'm not calling to ask for your business. I just wanted to let you know where I am in case you ever need to talk. I appreciate that, Leo. Actually, it's good you called. We're starting a new project in March, and we're looking for suppliers who can provide the kind of hands-on service we're used to. Would Corvus be interested in submitting a proposal? Within 2 weeks, I received similar inquiries from 4 major accounts, all companies that had worked with Matos for years but were frustrated with the recent changes in service quality. The key was patience. I wasn't poaching clients. I was simply available when they decided to explore alternatives. Meanwhile, Jessica kept me updated on the situation at Matos. Nathan had hired 2 more interns to handle the increased workload, but client complaints were piling up. The new employees could process orders efficiently, but they couldn't manage relationships. He's still convinced the problem is training, Jessica told me during one of our coffee catch-ups. He keeps talking about implementing better customer service protocols. He doesn't get that protocols can't replace personal connections. The big moment came in February. Vance Enterprises requested proposals for their biggest project of the year, a $75 million commercial complex that would require 18 months of coordinated supply chain management. Patricia Vance called me personally. Leo, we're taking bids from 3 suppliers. Matos, obviously, since they've handled our work for years, but we're also looking at alternatives. Is Corvus Manufacturing interested? Absolutely. What's your timeline? Proposals by March 1st, decision by March 15th. But Leo, I want you to know something. This isn't just about price or technical specs. We need a supplier who understands our business and can adapt when problems arise. The kind of service you used to provide at Matos. I spent 3 weeks preparing that proposal. Not just pricing and product specs, but a detailed service plan that emphasized personal attention and rapid problem-solving. The kind of approach Matos used to provide before, Nathan decided efficiency was more important than relationships. The day after we submitted our proposal, Harold Bishop called with news that would change everything. "Leo thought you should know. Matos lost the Silverton project. The client said their new account management system was slow and impersonal. $100 million project went to a competitor. $100 million. That's what I heard. And Leo, there's one more thing. The word around town is that Matos is having cash flow problems. They've lost several major accounts in the last 2 months. People are starting to wonder if they're still a reliable long-term partner. The dominoes weren't just falling, they were creating an avalanche. And Nathan still didn't understand what was happening. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning at 8:47 a.m. Rebecca forwarded it to me with a simple message. "Thought you'd want to see this. Matos Industries was requesting a meeting to discuss potential collaboration opportunities with Corvus Manufacturing." The sender was Nathan Garrett. I read the email twice. Nathan wanted to schedule a conference call to explore how Matos and Corvus could work together to serve the New Jersey construction market more effectively. "What do you think he wants?" Rebecca asked when I called her. "He finally understands what's happening. Matos has lost 6 major accounts in 3 months. All of them have signed with Corvus. He's desperate." The meeting was set for Thursday afternoon. Nathan, 2 Matos executives, Rebecca and me. Nathan didn't know I would be on the call until he heard my voice. "Good afternoon, everyone. This is Leo Callahan from Corvus." Dead silence. Then Nathan's voice, tight with recognition. "Leo, I wasn't aware you were with Corvus since January. I'm their VP of Client Relations." The conversation that followed was exactly what I expected. Nathan tried to frame Matos's client losses as market fluctuations and suggested that Corvus and Matos could avoid a destructive competition by dividing the market geographically. "What Matos is really proposing," Rebecca said after letting Nathan talk for 10 minutes, "is that we stop providing better service so they don't have to improve theirs." "That's not what I'm saying," Nathan replied quickly. "I'm saying there's room for both companies to succeed without customer defections." "Nathan," I said quietly, "customers didn't defect. They chose better service." "There's a difference." The silence stretched for 30 seconds. When Nathan finally spoke, his voice was different, smaller. "Leo, Matos Industries would be interested in discussing your return. We've made some organizational changes that might address your previous concerns." "What kind of changes?" "We're restructuring the sales department. More emphasis on relationship management, personal client attention, the kind of approach you pioneered at Matos." I looked at Rebecca, who was smiling. "Nathan, I appreciate the offer, but I'm exactly where I want to be." The news broke 3 weeks later. Matos Industries was laying off 40% of its workforce, including Nathan Garrett. The company had lost over $150 million in contracts during the first quarter, forcing them to restructure operations and eliminate management positions. Jessica called me that afternoon. "Leo, you need to know what happened. The board met yesterday. When they reviewed the client losses, they traced it all back to your termination. Nathan tried to blame market conditions, but the timing was too obvious." "How did they find out?" "Patricia Vance. She sent a letter to the CEO explaining exactly why Vance Enterprises switched to Corvus. She mentioned your name specifically, said the decision to fire you was the single worst business decision she's witnessed in 20 years. The letter kicked off an investigation. The board discovered that Matos had lost 63% of its top-tier accounts since January. All of them cited poor service quality and a lack of personal attention as primary factors in their vendor selection process. Nathan's cost-cutting strategy had backfired completely. Instead of saving money, he destroyed the very relationships that generated Matos's revenue. The 3 interns he hired to replace me were competent, but they couldn't stop the clients from leaving. That night, I drove past the Matos office building. Half the parking lot was empty. For lease signs were starting to appear in the windows. The company that Tom Matos built over 3 decades was struggling to survive because one man confused cost with value. I didn't feel satisfaction, just a sadness for the employees who lost their jobs because of Nathan's miscalculation. People like Jessica, who did nothing wrong but work for someone who didn't understand that business relationships can't be replaced by efficiency protocols. Some lessons cost more than others. Nathan learned his the hard way. Nathan Garrett's reputation in the New Jersey business community was destroyed in 6 months. Industry publications covered the Matos collapse as a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing short-term cost savings over long-term customer relationships. His LinkedIn profile remained dormant for over a year as he struggled to find employment with any company that valued client retention. When he finally landed a position, it was with a small firm in another state, at a significantly lower salary than he earned at Matos. The executive who once dismissed the value of personal relationships found that his own professional network had abandoned him when his decision-making proved catastrophic. Matos Industries never recovered from the mass client exodus. The company that once dominated the New Jersey construction supply market was forced to sell its assets to a competitor, with many former employees finding work at firms that prioritized relationship management over cost-cutting efficiency. The 3 interns Nathan hired to replace me were competent young professionals who deserved better leadership than they received. And most found positions in companies where their skills could properly develop under experienced mentors. Signed my employment contract with Corvus Manufacturing, surrounded by former Matos clients who had specifically requested to work with me again. Understanding that in business, as in life, trust and loyalty are earned through years of consistent service and genuine care for the people you work with. Some values can never be measured on a spreadsheet, but in the end they determine whether a company succeeds or fails. 6 months after the Matos collapse, I received an unexpected message. It was from Kevin. The sales manager Nathan had passed over for promotion. He had landed a job with a logistics firm and was rebuilding his career. Leo, I just wanted to say thank you. Watching how you handled that whole situation taught me more about professionalism than any MBA course ever could. You never badmouthed the company, never sought revenge, just kept doing what you did best. It gave me the courage to move on too. The message made me reflect on everything that had happened. It wasn't about revenge or proving a point. It was about holding on to my values, even when others didn't appreciate them. It was about understanding that genuine relationships will always outperform hollow transactions. It was about knowing that a professional's true worth isn't how much they cost, but how much they contribute. I replied to Kevin with simple but sincere words. Thanks, Kevin. Keep investing in people, not just processes. The rest takes care of itself. Corvus Manufacturing continued to grow. Within a year, we became the second largest supplier of construction equipment in New Jersey. Our relationship-based approach attracted not only former Matos clients, but also new customers who were tired of being treated like numbers. Rebecca Ross gave me complete freedom to build the sales team of my dreams. We hired seasoned professionals who understood that every client was unique, that every project had its quirks, and that every phone call was an opportunity to strengthen trust. One day during a team meeting, one of the new account managers asked how I maintained so many strong relationships over the years. The answer was simple but profound. You treat people like people, not business opportunities. You remember the birthdays, the achievements, the challenges. You show up when they need you, not just when you need to sell something. You build trust by being consistent, honest, and genuinely invested in their success. That can't be taught in a procedure manual or measured on a quarterly report. It's something you choose to live every single day. Patricia Vance became one of my biggest advocates in the industry. She frequently referred Corvus to other entrepreneurs, always mentioning that she had worked with me for years and that trust was the most valuable asset in any business partnership. The $75 million project she gave us was completed 3 weeks ahead of schedule, on budget without a single complaint. Not because we had the best products or the lowest prices, but because we had people who genuinely cared about the outcome. Harold Bishop expanded his construction company and brought us along for every new venture. During a celebratory dinner after completing a particularly challenging project, he told me something I'll never forget. Leo, I could save 15% by buying from another supplier, but that 15% is worthless if I can't sleep at night knowing that if something goes wrong, I have someone who will solve the problem at 3 in the morning. You give me that peace of mind. That's priceless. I learned that Nathan's mistake wasn't just firing an expensive employee. It was failing to understand that business is done between people, not companies. It was believing that operational efficiency could replace human connection. It was measuring value through costs when he should have measured it through outcomes. It was choosing the easy path of spreadsheets over the hard path of genuine relationships. The most important lesson I took from this experience wasn't about revenge or justice. It was about the importance of staying true to your values, even when the world around you doesn't seem to appreciate them. It was about understanding that your true professional worth isn't determined by your salary, but by the impact you have on the people you work with. It was about recognizing that building something that lasts always takes longer than destroying it, but it is infinitely more worthwhile. Today, when I look back, I see that Nathan's decision to fire me was ironically the greatest gift he could have ever given me. It freed me to build something bigger, connected me with people who truly valued my approach, and gave me the opportunity to prove that genuine relationships are the bedrock of any sustainable business. The difference is, I didn't have to destroy anyone to prove my point. The results spoke for themselves. And in the end, that's the true measure of success. Not how much you tear down on your way to the top, but how much you build that remains long after you're gone. The relationships I've cultivated will continue long after I retire because they were built on a solid foundation of trust, respect, and genuine care. That's the lesson Nathan never learned, and it cost him not just his job, but his reputation and his future. Some prices are just too high to pay, and the price of greed disguised as efficiency is always devastating. If you enjoyed this story, then like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.